The Mandarin is a mysterious Marvel villain who has fought the Avengers and other heroes, but has undoubtedly become best known as Iron Man's arch nemesis. There's none like him. With his 10 rings of alien origin and his unrivaled ambition to rule the world, he has become an icon among Marvel's villainous universe. And while the Marvel movies, especially Iron Man 3, have dirtied his reputation with fans, he is still my favorite Iron Man villain, and one of my favorite Marvel villains, period. So today, I wanted to take a deeper look at his power source, the 10 Makluan Rings of Power, to see just how powerful they are, and what powers they give the so-called all-powerful Mandarin. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Mandarin found the rings in an ancient alien spaceship in the Valley of Spirits, or the Valley of Dragons, depending on who you ask, in communist China, along with the dragon that piloted the ship. The rings were crafted from the souls of ancient alien warriors, and each ring grants him a unique power and ability. We later learned that these dragon aliens that brought the ship, and therefore the rings to Earth, are called Makluans, shape-shifting dragon aliens. And before you ask, yes, Fin Fang Foom, the dragon that the Avengers and Iron Man fight, is from this race of aliens. He doesn't just put the rings on at random either, he wears a particular ring on a particular finger. So let's look at the powers these 10 rings give him, starting with his right hand. On his right pinky, he wears the Black Light Ring. No, not that kind of black light. This ring grants him the ability to create areas of complete unbreakable darkness wherever he chooses, presumably using Dark Force energy, the same kind of energy that the Masters of Evil member Blackout uses. On his right ring finger, he wears the Disintegration Beam Ring, which, as the name suggests, disintegrates anything it touches. But it does take 20 minutes to recharge. Given that fact, you would think that's a pretty big weakness and he wouldn't use the ring often, but given the power of this ring, it's not that big of a deal. Now, on his right middle finger, he wears the Vortex Beam Ring, which allows him to create vortexes and tornadoes, kind of like how the Flash does when he waves his arms super fast. This vortex can be used offensively, defensively, as a means of transportation, or just grant him super speed. On his right pointer finger, he wears the Impact Beam Ring, which allows him to shoot energy blasts or sonic attacks to knock almost anyone or anything on its butt by causing their bodies to undergo change. And finally, on his right thumb, he wears the Matter Rearranger Ring, which grants him a multitude of powers that could rearrange matter on a molecular level, such as turning buildings into pillows, rearranging the molecules of enemies' weapons, turning other things into things they aren't, or even turning the air we breathe into poisonous gas, only over a certain distance. So that's already pretty considerably powerful, but we're just getting started. Let's move on to his left hand. On his left pinky, he wears the Ice Blast Ring, which allows him to fire an intense blast of cold that freezes anything it hits into solid ice, which means he can do some pretty damn good damage if he's near the right person. Presumably the cold it fires is from the dark, cold depths of outer space, but we don't know for sure. On his left ring finger, he wears the Mento Intensifier Ring, which basically grants him the powers of Professor X: mind control, mind wiping, and mind reading. But it does have a limit of one person within 10 feet. But this means he can do a whole lot of damage if he's next to the right person in the heat of battle. You could just mind control them into fighting their allies. What a way to go. Moving on to his left middle finger, we have the Electroblast Ring, which grants him the ability to fire intense voltages of electricity from his hands. If you can't already tell, the Mandarin is super duper frickin' powerful with all of these 10 rings. It's almost like the 10 rings are the baby brothers to the Infinity Stones. Anyways, on his left pointer finger, we have the Flame Blast Ring, which he can fire intense blasts of fire and flame, turning almost anything to ash in a matter of seconds. Wow. And finally, to round out all the 10 rings, we have the White Light Ring on his left thumb, which you would think is just the opposite of the Black Light Ring. It would just fire an intense blast of light. But actually, no. It controls the entirety of the electromagnetic spectrum, which gives him a multitude of different powers. including magnetic levitation, like Magneto, gravity manipulation, and even the ability to manipulate all forms of energy and light. It seems to be the most versatile out of all 10 rings. But with all 10 rings combined, he is almost unstoppable. He also has a psychic link to these rings, which means if anyone else tried to use them, they would not work unless the Mandarin approved it. The 10 rings have easily become one of my favorite weapons in the Marvel Universe as a whole. They are incredibly powerful, and I cannot wait to see how Shang-Chi uses them in the MCU with their new form and new powers. But anyways,